Get her done.
I will call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have roll call, please.
Councilmember Wallers?
Yes.
Salvi? Miller?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Citizen comments. Would anyone like to speak to the council? No. No public hearings. We have reading and approval of minutes from December 14th.
I will move approval of the December 14 regular minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And we have the same condensed version of the minutes.
I will move approval of the condensed version of the December 14th minutes.
I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. We have the consent agenda, which I will move approval of, consisting of the audit of city bills, gambling report from Morris Hockey, application to conduct off-site gambling from Cyrus Flyer, and 2 tree board minutes, October 20th and November 17th, and revenue and expenditure report.
I will second.
Any discussion or comments, questions on any of the items?
Out of curiosity, the firefighter from Cyrus that has the cancer, that they're doing the benefit for?
Who it is?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
I don't know either.
Young guy, pancreatic cancer.
Wow.
It's too bad. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Petitions, requests, and communications. We have a $400 donation to Morris Police Department from West Central Christian Homes.
Yeah, I think they've done this before.
Does that go into a special or just the police?
Any donation that's accepted, by the city goes to the city, but then the police department, can take a look at what they want to spend it on. Same way with the fire donations we did at the last meeting. But they just, I know it's not the first time that they've done it.
I will move approval of accepting the donation of $400 to the Morris Police Department from West Central Christian Homes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Ordinance and resolutions, we have none. We have city manager's reports. First thing is the remainder of the final licenses for 2022. Is this the complete list now after we get this? Okay.
I will move approval of the request for licenses as listed. Oh, do we need to take action on that?
What's that?
Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Take action.
Yeah, we need a motion
Yeah.
And a second from Miller.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. City manager report.
I do have one thing to add, and then I think I'll just throw it back to you and see if you got any questions on what's in the report. The one thing to add is that I did have a resident contact me with concern about a neighbor moving their snow onto their property or their boulevard. And I did drive around town a little bit this morning to check, because I know this has happened in our park before. And actually, if you go down by Green River Park, you'll see where somebody is moving some snow into Green River Park, and it is not acceptable for you to put your snow on anybody else's boulevard. If you're an apartment building, you need to move it on to an area that it can be cleared out on, and actually the office building over here on the corner of California and 7th, I noticed that they're piling from the parking lot onto the boulevard, and so I don't know how you get the snow off the street if the boulevard's got a 8-foot high berm of snow already built up on it, and it's parking lots that should be removed and hauled out somewhere or put in the corner. That's usually what happens, but we've had that issue before where people will take their snow across the street to the boulevard across and pile it up, but that's not your property. And when it comes to city parks and stuff like that, sometimes they're driving across, like on Green River Park, they're driving across the sidewalk to pile snow. And so it's not us, and I checked on that, and we would have no reason to do that. So that is something I'll probably bring up on the radio tomorrow, and I just wanted to note it to you that, typically what will happen is if I identify who the property owner is, I'll send them a notice that you can't do that. If I know who the snow removal company is, then I'll send them a notice on that.
Yeah, likewise on the snow removal companies, it might be good to point out again to them, especially the newer ones that are in town, that they can't drive across an unshoveled sidewalk to get to where they want to go. If they want to get to where they want to go, they have to enter from the street, or if they want to go across the sidewalk, they got to clean it.
Right. Yeah, so we haven't had some of these snowstorms for a while.
Well,
so
yeah, it was a big one this weekend.
People are kind of learning what to do, and like I said, I'll answer any questions on anything else on there if you want to chat about it. Otherwise, it's kind of a slow meeting.
I guess, Kevin, as for the chamber rep, I was just curious on your take on Blaine's narrative on the Prairie Pioneer Days.
I think he's exactly correct. This has really been in the works, I think, for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Kind of dating back to when Carolyn was still the director there, and so it didn't come as a real big shock to me. But I don't know. I really don't know what drove it. But there seems to be this feeling that I don't even know what the right word is. It's a struggle between the city and chamber. They think there's some sort of a conflict between us, and we just can't seem to get past. There's a group, a strong sentiment that should be a city function and not chamber function, and this discussion has been going on for probably the last 3-4 years, or if not longer, on what their role is, and and I guess I've maintained the same position Blaine has, because I sit on the board, as you know, and I've just told them we don't, that's not what the city does. We don't plan events. We're here to support that effort, but there is a sentiment, though, that the city has let the chamber down, and it goes kind of way back to when we had the co-director position, Andrea and Carolyn, and there was some tourism money that was used to offset some of her wage, and that went away, and so I think, in that whole process, that's kind of where things started to deteriorate. And it's unfortunate because, I've been trying to encourage the board that you can't look at this as a city or a chamber function. It's a community function. And, we as a community have to rally around an event that we can be proud of. And whether, the city is never going to just say we're not going to help or assist. We never ever took that position. But I just don't really know what the answer is. Somebody's going to have to step up, some group, organization, some entity to carry this thing on. I mean, I see other communities that have events, and they do actually quite well. So I just think somebody's got to take the ball and run with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about the other communities, you know, local, and, I mean, Cyrus has Cyrus Days, Donley has the Thrashing Bee, Alberta has, picnic?
That's Chicago Community Picnic.
Or Chicago's got a picnic,
Alberta
Alberta's,
had one too.
Something.
Alberta's
Yeah.
got something.
Picnic and
You know,
entertainment.
Hancock, they've got the 4th of July, but, none of those are ran by the city, to my knowledge. You know, it's always a group, and none of those communities have a chamber of commerce, which we do, which Morris is large enough, thank goodness, that we have that. I'm really disappointed, I think, in how this is panning out. I don't think this is the end, like you said, I don't think this is the end, but unfortunately, it certainly looks like it might be the end.
Well, and Sheldon, I guess to kind of add to this discussion, I was not in favor of moving Prairie Pioneer Days to the fall to begin with, because as you all know, I owned a business in town on Main Street, and Morris gets lean in the summer months. And my recommendation to the board at that time was, the businesses in Morris and Main Street need your help in the summer. They really don't need it in the fall, because they get a boost in their business when the college kids come back. Where Morris really needs, the retail community needs your help is in the summer. Bring some sort of an event, put some sort of an event together, which at that time, of course, was Prairie Pioneer Days, albeit and you know, a lot of people argued that it was dying and it was poorly attended, but it was something. We had something, and it brought people to town, and there was a vote, and the vote was to move it. So, you know, in my opinion, that's kind of when things really started to kind of go south with the whole Prairie Pioneer Day thing. And so I don't know. I hope that there is something that we can do to help our retailers and our Main Street people, because you know, it's not, they can't take summers off. The retail community doesn't get to take summers off. You know, everybody wants to be at their lake. They want to do all these things, but guess what? Our retail community works all
Right.
summer. So,
They can, however, the retail community can, however, choose to not support the chamber, which is really, really unfortunate. That's a
Yeah.
double-edged sword that no one wants to see. But I mean, in my business too, it's like, I'm not so sure I want to do this anymore. Not necessarily. I'm not exactly sure that they're working for me, for my business.
Is it an issue of, what's the issue of why they don't want to do it? Is it they don't have the time? Resources, money, what's?
No, I think it goes deeper than that. I think what it is, and the whole reason I brought it up is because I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the chamber was not doing this for us. Because it appeared that way, that the chamber was, and actually in the newspaper it said temporarily doing Prairie Pioneer. They've been doing it for how many years? It's not temporary, it's your event. It's a community event. So, you know, at the public hearing we had on assessments, I made the comment that we are the city. So every once in a while, somebody will go, well, why doesn't the city do it? You're the city. The city, there is no big organization back here that's the city of Morris that does all these big things. We do what we take taxpayer money to do in the sense of administration and you know, public works, snow removal, all that kind of stuff. But there's other things that are done by other organizations, and I was a chamber president up in Breckenridge, and I can tell you exactly how an event works, and it's not the city of Breckenridge that's doing the event. It's the group of organizations under probably the direction in that city of the Chamber of Commerce putting together the event to provide exactly what Kevin was talking about, added benefit to the businesses in the community. That's why they do that kind of stuff. And for me, it was just a matter of making sure that they understand that you're not throwing it back to us to take back. I'm throwing it back to you because it's your event. There was a comment that was made about, and I traded a couple of emails back and forth about people are still interested in the fireworks and that's a city thing. And it's like, no, the fireworks were part of Prairie Pioneer Days. So you don't just randomly pick a day in July and say, we're gonna have fireworks night in Morris, you know, and do a fireworks show. It was all part of the event, and the city pledged, actually I talked to Jody Beadle over in Hancock, because the Lions Club in Hancock takes the lead on the 4th of July celebration over there, and the city provides exactly what we did, resources that we have, like the parks. In the case of, we have insurance for fireworks, so we ordered the fireworks show, have insurance for it, and typically it was paid for by the Eagles Club or somebody else. I think that's who pays for it in Hancock, is the Lions Club. And it's just a big group of people working on a project, but usually there's one organization that spearheads it. I think Chicago, it's the community club that spearheads the big event that they have there, and then all the organizations participate. So I don't know if they just don't understand that this is, and like I said, they certainly can make a decision not to do it as a group, you know, and focus on other things like Crazy Days and stuff like that. That's their decision to do it, but don't throw it back at us and say, we're not gonna do that anymore because you guys should be doing it. You know, and the tourism money actually now is working very hard at promoting. Kevin knows because he sits on that board, and lo and behold, we got snow. So the snowmobilers are going to be super happy around here. I saw them on the way back from Alec today when I was coming back, and so we've done a lot with tourism and promotion and all that kind of stuff, and we're going to continue doing that, and that's what that money was there for. So,
And you know, Blaine, that's and to Sheldon's point, it's very poor timing, because we do have a lot of momentum going on the tourism side, and with Click, they're doing a great job marketing Morris, and you know, for us to discontinue one of the biggest events that the town has, it's just not a very good time, I don't think, in my opinion. So, you know, I don't know, I'm hoping that something will happen. You know, we have a lot of opportunity in Morris to do things in the summer. We have one of the nicest softball complexes around, you know, and if nothing else, just have a softball tournament, and maybe somebody can throw together a band or something somewhere, and it doesn't have to be, you know, we don't have to spend $15,000, $20,000 to have an event. So
I would imagine they'll be talking about it a little bit more. We'll see what happens.
I would hope so.
It's too bad, because I think everything's been so broken apart now, and I think, I don't know, because I can see it from the other side too, that say what you want about Prairie Pioneer Days, but it was dying, and it takes a lot of people, or a small group of people, they did a lot of work to keep that going, and so as much as I can see it for some type of event for businesses, I'm not so sure anymore that Prairie Pioneer Days is what's best for Morris. I mean, obviously there was some things, but you guys were there Saturday when they had it. Was there, I mean, I went down there to eat later on in the day, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and what I heard from food vendors is, oh, it's really slow, not many people are, and there was a lot of promotion on that event. And so sometimes maybe because we didn't have it last year, it's gonna take a few years again, but I do think that that maybe Morris is not, Prairie Pioneer Days is no longer what we need here for that. So I think just to keep that open mind on all sides, that there is some struggles, because I hear from businesses too that, well, who's promoting to come and shop here? Because they don't feel that it's being done. And sometimes it's, what is the city doing? What is the chamber doing? And I don't think it's just in this community. There's other communities, a little larger. Wapaton, that sits right next to Breckenridge, is feeling that way. And so they've kind of rearranged some things. So I just think maybe this is time to be looking at what we need to do together as a group instead of, instead of pointing fingers and blaming. It's just like, okay, where do we go? What do we want to see with this?
What makes up our Chamber of Commerce? What is it, what's its point or goal? It's from businesses in the community or area?
Yep, but
So
I think the
hopefully
chamber says something different about that as well.
We should have the participation of the businesses that are hopefully represented by the chamber to do things to support the whole community. So just, to me, it makes sense that, yeah, we need the involvement of the businesses with the chamber to help promote the whole community.
And you
their
did touch on,
businesses.
you touched on something, Kim, too, that I believe also, maybe a reboot is necessary. Just to take and maybe create a new identity, I think the question we need to ask ourselves is, what does Morris want to be known for? What is our identity? Maybe maybe we don't want to be known as the people from the prairie or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it is a new identity. So what that is yet, I don't know.
But I think as we go forward, I'm with Blaine on this, is that it's not the taxpayer's responsibility to pay for it. Okay? And if some people put in a lot of time, are those the people that work for the chamber? And is that their job to do that? So I mean, that's hard to separate for me. If somebody's saying that to me, I don't know if I can separate that, but I know that we can separate and say, I don't believe that it is the town's people's tax money that should pay for the event that supports the businesses. The businesses are wanting advertisement and support, so they create the organization, which is the Chamber of Commerce, that does that for them. So I think going forward, I think you're right. Maybe you reboot, you do something different, but in the background, we have to remember that it is not the taxpayers' money that will support it going forward. I think that gets mixed together and people get the wrong idea, because I hear that all the time. What's the city doing to bring in new businesses? What's the city doing to do this? What's the city do? The city is running the city. We're spending your tax money to clean the roads, to fix this, to get your water and your sewer and do all these things. Do you want us to tax you more to have a department that brings in new business? Well, that's something that we would have to discuss, because we certainly aren't going to do it with what we collect now for taxes.
And
Well,
we do
the SCIC
participate in
is-
the Economic Development Authority,
Exactly.
and that's who is
Related.
bringing in new businesses and helping new businesses.
So maybe that also just needs to be clarified, who's doing that, because you're
Right.
right, Brian, that is always, well, what are you doing to, well,
Yeah, well, I get
nothing.
that,
And-
yeah, you're absolute, I get that
But-
all the time. It's
Thank
like,
you.
why doesn't the city, actually, I think people honestly believe an empty building in town is ours. It's like, what are you gonna put in this building? And it's like, it's not my building. It's not the city's building. So then the Economic Development Authority has been working with people to go into spots, and actually, we're very successful at finding, you just look at, what happened with with the Homestead building out there now. So there's a lot of stuff that happens, but it goes back to the very beginning. I don't know that the chamber board understands what our role is in this activity, because I just don't get the feeling, based on the information that I'm seeing, that they understand that. And I can certainly go talk to them, and I have talked to them before about what is our role in dealing with these kind of things. And I'm always trying to keep straight what tourism money is used for, and we do have a lot of assets. We have parks, we have public works, we have a lot, law enforcement, a lot of things that get involved with a lot of these activities. And that's probably our biggest role, to include, if the events in East Side Park, our insurance covers the activity. If it's in the fairgrounds, it does not. The fair, I don't know how they did it with the fairgrounds, because that fairgrounds is a separate piece of property that the fair board oversees. And so there's little ins and outs, but I think you're right that, sometimes people just don't understand, what each entity's role is. And maybe that's something that we need to provide more information on. Anything else in the newsletter? It's been a good year and a bad year. I think we turned out really well this year, but at the same time, we know we went through a lot of stuff this year. And it looks like next year is gonna start out kind of the same way with the pandemic still going on, but it was a good year for the city of Morris.
So Guido is coming. Now, he's not the mayor anymore, correct?
No, Guido he's basically their consultant that organizes everything in Zarbeck. And so then later on, the new mayor and a delegation will come to Morris,
Okay.
depending on what happens with the pandemic. But he did this last year. He actually came and did some extra work with the university trying to coordinate things, and it's kind of tapping into some really good, talented information that he provides in what they're doing over there.
Any word on any progress down on our old 2nd Street in Maine? I see the side doors open, and just comments from people.
Well, I think they're
They're
trying
still
to get
waiting.
they're trying to get the sale closed. So there's anybody that's bought property,
Yeah.
there's paperwork has to be done, and this one's a little bit more complicated just for the nature of the ownership and that. But I think that's really what's happening, and I think there's a plan moving forward. I know at the Economic Improvement Commission meeting, Cheryl couldn't go into it, as far as who the potential buyer is and stuff, but there is activity going on that
Good.
she's working directly with them on that. So once that information's made available, then we'll share it with you.
Thank you.
But he's moved residential and business wise.
Yeah, I had a person contact me about the move. It's downstairs, right? And she was blaming the city for moving him into some place where it's not handicap accessible, and it's like,
Yeah, we
the
had
city had
nothing
nothing
to do with it.
it. Yeah,
Other than
I didn't
trying to
need-
assist and to get him into someplace,
right.
or getting some help from outside sources to work with him. But yeah, I read the same letter, and it was like, you were evil, very evil.
Yeah.
And I know you had broad
Nothing-
shoulders. But
Nothing,
it's, you try to help, and it's a decision on that individual where they
Right.
went and what they did. But we were trying to give them some help through some of our assistants or
Yeah, I
some of
think-
our different.
I think sometimes people really misunderstand how much power we have. Because when it comes to private property ownership, we do not have, we have laws and we can step in and do certain things. But typically, if we're not going to a judge to get an action to take place, we don't have the authority to do some of that stuff. And I've had people make comments to me about stuff, and it's like, I didn't even know that was taking place. Because I just got done meeting with the council and said, yeah, everything's pretty much the same, and then it's like the next day, and then you find out that, no, it's all different. Because not only is he leaving, there's a new owner that's coming in, and that stuff happens in private, because we're not providing any kind of help. There has been no action on this table from the city council with regards to any of that yet. And whether or not there's ever gonna be any, I haven't seen anything yet. We do, actually, the Economic Development Authority has the ability to step in and do some things, and they haven't done anything yet. So the best thing you can do is, let them know what you've heard, and, if they contact me, then I can kind of tell them, where we're at with stuff. But, even right now with private property owners and snow and all that kind of stuff, there's certain things that we can do and step in, but it takes time and it takes an action, and the easiest thing a property owner can do is have a very good relationship with your neighbors. If that doesn't happen, then we can't be the one that just steps in and starts telling your neighbor to do what you want them to do, because it doesn't work that way.
Right.
People will
All right, any other questions or comments on the city manager report? I think that you brought up a good point, Blaine, about being a good neighbor, and this time of year with the snow, you know what, if you've got a snow blower and your neighbor doesn't, and there's a foot of snow on his sidewalk, use your snow blower a little bit longer.
I
You
came
know,
out
help 'em
yesterday
out.
and my sidewalk was already done, so I don't know who did, was it, everyone's, so it's, in our neighborhood, it kinda works that way, one person will do it, and then another person will do it, and it's kinda fun to watch and see what
Well,
happens.
sometimes it's almost easier just to go down to the end of the block.
It is.
Turn around and come back
Yeah.
rather than try to turn around in the middle of the block. I seen the postman coming, the mailman coming down the block, and the block next to me half of it had not been blown, so I quick got my snow blower over there and made him a path. Wasn't the best path, but it was
Every little bit helps
It
when
was-
they're
it was
walking
passable.
5-6 miles a day,
Yeah,
in and out, and the
Yeah.
packages and the late arrivals, yeah, it gets to be some long days for them.
Yep, yep. All right, anything else come before the council? All right, meeting adjourned.
Woo-hoo.